and welcome to another episode of the Green Team of the Legendarium. I'm your host, Befuddled Panda, and I have with me Sean,
Hello.
Seth,
Hello.
Spook,
Hello.
and Yeti.
The whole crew is back.
Yeah, I did it in alphabetical order this time. Yeti, you're always going to be last.
I thought you went by height.
I guess I could do reverse. Anyway, that's not the point. We've made it. We're on Speaking Bones, the last book of Ken Liu's silk punk epic, the Dandelion Dynasty Saga. Woo!
Insert applause.
Hell yeah.
Wahoo.
Hype. If this happens to be your first episode of ours, please check out the playlist in the show notes so you can start with book 1 of the series. If you're caught up with the series and with our chats, welcome back. Thank you for your patience. We did take a bit of a break after the third book, but we are back now. However, before we dive into our chat, a few housekeeping things. For Speaking Bones, this massive chunker of a book, we are going to cover it, well, at least the plan is, we're going to cover it over 4 episodes. So this first episode covers part 1. The second episode covers part 2. Third episode will cover part 3. And the fourth episode will cover parts 4 and 5 together. That will probably be a massive episode. We may or may not do a separate episode to reflect on the whole series. I haven't decided yet. We'll chit chat about it and see where we land. And then one more housekeeping thing is we would very much appreciate likes, follows, subscribes, wherever you listen from. Reviews and comments are also appreciated. Shout out to Mex Garfield on YouTube for sharing a swath of tidbits on history and mythology in the Veiled Throne episode 3 comments. We'll put a link to it in the show notes so others can take a look. All right, with that, let's get into it. We'll start with some general thoughts, then dive into the details. How does it feel to be back in the series? What did people think of part 1? Who wants to go first?
It feels great.
Sean's like, I'm so ready.
Sean has to
I
talk
really am.
first because he's followed it up by reading The Devils first and then this.
Yeah, I slogged through the Devils within a couple pages of Speaking Bones. I was like, we're so back to peak. Like, it was like dipping my head in ice cold water.
Wow.
Oof. It feels good.
I think I'm the only one on this panel that has not read The Devils.
I liked it.
I'm gonna be optimistic. I think Spook and our tastes are more similar, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like Michael Jordan in '96.
Mm.
You know, he had all this whole speech written out, and he just went with "I'm back."
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. Gonna echo Sean's sentiments. It's great to be back. Sad it's the last one, but yeah, it's great.
It will have taken us about 2 years to cover the whole
2
series.
years. Wow.
Yeah, I went to
When
check.
did we start this?
I went to check.
Jeez.
May 2024 was when our first Grace of Kings episode was released.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
It'll be
year
like
and a half.
right at a year and a half. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's a little better.
Where did the time go?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how long it's going to take us to cover
that's
all
true.
of book
It might
4.
it might take till
The
May.
holidays are
No,
coming
yeah.
up, you know.
Please no.
Anyway, no, we have to cover it in shorter than 5 months.
Yeah, this is I think the pace at which the beginning of this book set, I think we're all probably going to want to get through it because it's a lot happens in this short kind of section, but man, it was short.
Yeah. Yeah, breezed by.
Yeah,
I'm just excited just anytime you get to like a last book in a series, especially as something as meaty as this, where, or at least my first read through, I remember just being so amped to see how it all gets tied together in a sense,
Yeah.
and what it like builds to. And it's kind of just that excitement knowing we do, well, you could say excitement or dread, I guess, of having 1,000 pages to read. Um, but it's like, yeah, it's just like a whole last story. All good things come to an end, but it's all excitement. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
the second Wall of Storms, I just didn't have much expectation. I was like, oh my God, this is maybe one of my favorite books of all time. Then going into the third book, it's like, I knew it was split into two. So I was excited for it, but kind of like, all right, I still have to not get through, but two books. But now that it's the end, it's like, all right, this is it.
Yeah.
How's it all going to
And
come together?
this was meant to be smushed all into one with the Veiled Throne, so he had a
Let's all
lot to
take a
say.
second to laugh at Ken for thinking that this could all be in one book.
For real.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder if there's gonna be any twists like the restaurant cooking competition
He
in
needed
this one.
500 pages for Hell's Kitchen Dara
What
edition.
detour are we gonna take?
Imagine intending to write that section and then not like, and thinking it's gonna be one book worth of material, having a cooking competition in there.
Honestly,
Insane.
I'm so here for it. Like, if he pulled something like that at the end of this, I wouldn't even be mad.
What? You
Really?
complained about the whole the
Wow.
kitchen thing the whole time. And then you didn't
Dude,
you weren't on the podcast for it.
Yeah.
there was this thing. Traffic was terrible, but look, I slept on it, and then I was like, you know what, Seth, you're crazy. That was great.
Nice.
Yes.
I came around. Yeah, the Veiled Throne went way up in my rating, like with time.
Oh, good.
It stuck with you.
Yeah, I think maybe too. Like, I just held the wall. The Wall of Storms is so good to me. Like, it's just peak fantasy for
It
me,
is
and
good.
I might have been judging it unfairly. Like, is it the Wall of Storms? No. Is it still fantastic? Yes.
Didn't we read The Devil's halfway through The Veiled Throne or something?
You guys had a deadline to
So
meet.
I wonder what changed his opinion on good books.
That was like, okay, fine. The Veiled Throne is so much better than this.
The
I'd
Devils
rather-
doesn't deserve this airtime right now.
I know.
Could give it free advertising.
Oh my goodness. See, now I want to read it even more.
I enjoyed it.
It's
Anyway.
fine. Let's move on, please.
Moving on. Okay, so I think for me, it did take me a little bit to like get back into it. I think partly it was because Spook and we read All That We See or
Yeah.
Seem
Yeah.
by Ken Liu before starting Speaking Bones, and it was really hard not to compare like the two kinds of works where we were a bit disappointed with All That We See or Seem because the character work and just the writing itself wasn't as wonderful as the Dandelion Dynasty. And I think that kind of colored my read coming into Speaking Bones, and I was starting to notice a little I guess flaws is kind of harsh since, I'm not like a professional writer, but just some elements that kind of took me out of the story a little bit. But by the end of part 1, I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready. I need to know what's going to happen next. So, here we are. Are we ready to get into the details?
Yeah. Summary
Yes.
time.
All right. Summary time. If I missed anything major, apologies. We catch up with Thera, Tokful, and their group of the Kiri Valley Massacre survivors. They've managed to avoid capture despite constant pursuit by the Lyuku. But a betrayal by Eratin nearly defeats them and gives Kuju info on when the Wall of Storm will open up next. Their only hope was to flee to the world's edge mountains, but the harsh climate made their escape unsustainable. So Thera and Tokful take a gamble with the ice tribes of the north. The Layuku catch their scent and pursue them through the icy terrain, resulting in a siege battle with an impressive icy fort and golden soup. But supplies were dwindling, and so Thera and Tokful's rebel group take their chance going further up north across frozen ocean, where Tokful becomes an icicle, Thorio's capacity for understanding humans is tested, and Thera blasts fermented shark meat from their frozen tombs. In the meantime, Tonto, Rokiri, Satari, Razutana, and the children escapees from the Kiri Valley massacre eke out a survival in the city of ghosts. Tonto, wanting to be a hero and help defeat the Layuku, decides to go on an adventure further into the city of ghosts in search of magical weapons that are sure to be there. He nearly dies in a large barrow, but Razutana and Satari were able to find him just in time to save him. With death abated, the trio explores the barrow and find wall paintings depicting the ages of history, revealing information about the Fifth Age that ran counter to Satari's understanding of what happened from the Aegon's sacred stories. While Tonto did not find the magical weapons he hoped to find, he did end up with lots of exciting stories to share with the other children upon his return. We also catch up with Tanvanaki, who is nearing a mental breakdown and deludes herself into thinking she has control over Kutunrovo. But she does have a secret up her sleeve within the tunnel leading to Dasu. And lastly, Tifon Huto stands trial for his crimes, but his fate is intervened upon by Gia. He enters a bargain with some bandit queens, and we're left wondering, what new scheme is Gia up to now? Dun dun dun!
That is a good question. I think you nailed it. There's a lot of almost death in this section.
Yeah, seriously.
A lot of almost dying.
Yeah, this one is the part one is called Hail Pummeled Flowers. So, yeah, lots of almost dying.
Was hail pummeled flowers? Is that supposed to mean that like Thera was hit by the ice setting? She the flowers, the Dara, and then the hail's the ice life she's been living.
She's
think
definitely
it's
one
just
one flower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these characters that we met, they're all being um just hit with challenges and hardship, even whether they're good or bad, right?
Mm.
Like Kuju has this challenge of like, well, he seems weak because the kids all escaped him, and Thera and Tokful, he hasn't been able to capture them, um and yeah, each of the characters, I think Lou just does a very good job regardless of what side they're on. They're all facing their own challenges.
Not Tifon Hutu. He's the luckiest man alive.
And the
That
smartest.
man. Yeah. When he showed up, I was like, why? Why are we spending any time
You
on
thought we
this
were done with
man?
him?
It took me a second to remember who he
Yeah,
was.
me
And
too.
like he's like being fed grapes. I'm like, wait, I thought he was going to prison. What's going on here?
Yeah, shouldn't he be dead?
I think the question is, do we want to start out talking about the majority of the section, which is like Thera stuff, or do we do that at the end?
We can start wherever. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'd start with that stuff.
I feel like we start with it.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Yeah, so Thera is, I mean, this is what I want from the story at this point, which is a lot of Thera, because I feel like a lot is riding on her, and like they've gone through it. And I'm just like, how are they going to possibly get out of this? They're down to a band of 20 and depleting, and by the end of the section, it's not looking great for Tokful either. she seems to be at like, I mean, going into the book, you could say she's at like her lowest, has a bit of a resurgence while talking to Thorio, goes through it more in this race across the deep north. But yeah, I feel like she starts out in a really bad spot. Has a lot of philosophical talks with various characters. She gets some good news. She, learns to fly a Grinnefin, has that whole section. And then the more direct conflict with Arten's betrayal, the whole race after that. I just feel like a lot of the section was kind of her ups and downs throughout the section, and like everything she's going through. But like I mentioned at the top of this spiel, she is kind of like where I want to be sitting at this moment as far as a character I want to be following. So that was good.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like ever since, for me as a reader, ever since Wall of Storms, when Cooney had his big moment where he kind of, dies essentially, but calls out
This
Thera.
big moment.
Yeah, that's my favorite moment. But he kind of calls out Thera of being like, she's the one. She has like everything. Actually, that moment, and when he's talking to, is it in the garden with what's his face, Leon? Whatever, the guy who flies the kite. So many names.
Luanzia.
Luanzia, about how important Thera is and how she's kind of the real heir. Every book and following, I feel like I just want to follow her journey as a leader and as someone who can make change in the world and do the most interesting thing. And it's just really honestly amazing. I don't know if that's the right word, but to see her fail kind of over and over again,
Yeah.
and I've always thought she's been put in the hardest position out of all of Cooney's kids. Not that any of them has had easy positions. But just to have that burden of kind of knowing that she's kind of Cooney's heir and follow up, and just always second guessing her decisions, even though she's in a totally different kind of situation than he ever was. But that's kind of how life works as a child of, children of your parents. It's never the same exact steps, but it's still. So yeah, I agree. Her stuff is riveting, how she kind of deals with all that.
Yeah, it's also like this is, and we talked about this when we were talking about the Veiled Throne. It was like Thera,
Is she a good leader, right? We talked about that.
is she a good leader? But also it's she's going through an identity crisis where she was raised in Dara, right? And she has all of this like wisdom that she is hanging on to, but now she's been put into situations where her parents had never encountered these specific situations before, and she has to figure it out on her own. And we saw in the Veiled Throne, she was hanging on so tightly to Dara and its culture and not wanting her children to not know what Dara was like and not be part Daran. But in this first part, we see that she has been able to meld both the Aegon like culture and beliefs and their understanding of the world with her own upbringing. And we saw that a bit with Kinri, right, from the other side where he's brought up with Aegon culture or Lyuku culture, um, and uh, having to experience Dara for what it really is and like make those decisions himself. So it's like these parallels that are happening.
Yeah, I like that you brought up how she's becoming more of Dara, more more Aegon. I mean, just you brought up how both of those parts of who she is are like really coming to the forefront, and I feel like the scenes where she's like, how would I describe it? I mean, like kind of channeling or like honing in on the land and like the gods.
Mm.
She's just kind of like letting her essence kind of like fade out into the land and the gods, and she has these like weird thought like she's like it's like a brain blast, like weird trip thing going on.
Yeah.
I feel like the part of the reason it's kind of weird how she's just doing this out of nowhere a little bit, but I think part of the reason that it works is because it really pops off the page how much of an Aegon person she is now.
Well, also, what we haven't really gotten in part 1 is any real direct conversation from the gods. I think there was one little bit which was about like what is Gia up
Gia,
to,
yeah.
right? There was just that one bit, but we haven't like I guess we know that with the Aegon people, like they have their own gods, but we haven't really encountered them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what they're like and like how do they really experience it. And the shaman kind of says a little bit Satari says to Tonto like, "Oh, you haven't drawn your first blood or you're not a warrior yet." Um so you can't hear the gods, whereas she's like, "I always hear they're always around except when I'm in this barrow, it's really quiet. It's so
Yeah.
silent." So we're getting these like bits and pieces of like the Aegon gods and how they manifest, but not the full picture.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's gonna be, I don't know, they're gonna be closer to Dara gods than we think, maybe. Or there's
Hmm.
some connection or some singular source.
Interesting. Okay. Other thoughts about Thera in general?
I think she's probably the character with the best kind of story and best character kind of writing because she's had the most growth so far. And I'm excited to see kind of how her story continues. We kind of have this: is Tokval dead or what's going on here? And I'm very curious if he dies, what happens? Because I think that's the more interesting bit
Yeah.
is how Thera is able to rise from Tokval dying.
Well, so something that major that really happens in the Thera storyline is she gained the acceptance of the shaman lady
Mm-hmm.
that's with them. And n- at the very end where, Takfal is like whispering to her with supposedly his last breath, you know, her reaction's like, "But I'm not truly Aegon." And he's like, "Well, you basically are now." So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I thought they, talking about Thera and Tokfall, I feel like they actually have a really sweet relationship, and Lou does a good job of where like a lot of time passes with them between each other. It's years, but it's not really on the page all that much, and it's always, he's really concise when he shows the moments where either Tokfall's picking Thera up in a moment of lowness, or they're getting out of a jam together where pick each other up and then they work on it together. And again, other authors might spend a whole book on just these two characters, but he doesn't really have the luxury of doing that with this type of story. But I have to admit, I think their relationship kind of has grown on me, and I think
Mhm.
it's it makes kind of what happened to Talkfall at the end of this book kind of I was gonna say numbing, but sad, obviously. But like if that relationship didn't work as much, I don't think we'd care as much about Talkfall. And not to say,
Mm-hmm.
it's hurts as much as what something with Cooney or something like that. But um, I just think it's a testament to Lou's writing that he doesn't spend as much time as maybe other authors would on them, but it's still you can still feel that connection. It doesn't feel hollow. You feel like they've raised kids together on the pages we don't see.
It is a little bit similar to like the Cooney Gia relationship where they're both like putting in the work. Now, Cooney and Gia's relationship was different because, Gia was held hostage and Cooney had to be separated and all that stuff happened. But together they, were like committed to the same goal. They went about it differently. Um, but it was very much like a collaboration. They worked together.
Sarah and Takval are, I'd say, more romantic, or it's more romantic to read than like Sarah J. Maas.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa,
Shots
hot
wow.
take
fired,
here.
man.
Oh my
Hey,
god.
she's a bestseller. We're gonna lose fans. Take it easy.
She's the
Low bar.
Brandon Sanderson of smut.
Oh, we're gonna get us canceled, Spook.
But even a lot of things that are trying to be romantic, this comes across as more romantic, more earnest.
It doesn't feel cheap. Is
Yeah.
been my kind of take.
Exactly. You can feel that they've been through a lot, even if we read a lot of it, but it's not all on the page. He just
Yeah.
does a good job of making you feel their hardships together.
It feels earned. Yeah.
I think this is. I was just reading through my notes while you guys were chatting a little and listening, but two things that I wrote down a few times was there's a lot of rumination about like love and life's meaning, I think, in this section.
Mhm.
And there's
Yeah.
a quote that I have that I thought was really good. It speaks a lot to their state of mind, but it's quote, "It's madness to fall in love and madness to have children,
Yes.
knowing that the
Mm.
world is a cruel and harsh place and death our constant companion. It's madness to fight to be free when the chances of success are so slim. Anything worth doing is at least a little bit mad."
Thank you for highlighting. I couldn't find that in the audio.
Yeah.
An audiobook. I was like, I want to highlight. I think this was the best like section of the book. This part.
Aw.
I
Yeah,
took note of that quote too.
I like it a lot. I just think that we talked a lot about like Thera failing a lot. Like I had a note in here about like Thera's try-fail cycle. Like it feels like she's just really in the weeds of it. But I think this is like Lou prepping her to be the kind of leader, like the best of Cooney, not Cooney, of Gia and Cooney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cooney and Gia. Because there's another quote 2 pages later, page 123. It says, quote, "Good isn't always accomplished through beneficent means, and evil isn't always committed without some sympathetic cause."
Mhm.
And I think that kind of like high level thinking is what good leaders or kings or queens like have to think about, right? Like we have examples of Thera being really naive, right? She trusts this person who comes into camp. She's like, "Oh, he's going to go spy for us." Inadvertently gives up the information for the Wallstorms, right? Like
Yeah.
she's realizing that she's making mistakes, acknowledging them, and then I'm just really curious to see like what in-game Thera looks like.
Two points. Yeah, that quote. First of all, I think that quote was said by Takval, the one about loving and madness is, having loved someone, which was really, I thought it was a great twist for his character to have that moment. Is like that big speech in a movie, kind of to get the ice people,
Yeah,
to get them to kind of make a stand, and that. And I just thought that was such a beautiful sentiment. So I can relate to this. And I'm sure many other people can, but having kids, and he says like bringing kids into a world like this is madness. And I was, oh,
Yeah.
geez. But even in your second point with Tara, like the naivety, being naive and things like that, I thought it was so interesting that, because I think she tries to mimic Cooney a lot as a leader, but like as we know as readers, like Cooney did things that were kind of effed up, even if he didn't want to, or they were morally maybe not the best actions that he hurt to make, but
Yeah.
but she doesn't see that as his kid. The kids see their parents, especially Cooney, who kind of sacrificed himself. They're probably without fault in their mind. So she's trying to make decisions based on the idea of Cooney, how he would always be just or make the right thing, the morally right thing.
Mhm.
And, it's just not how it was, in reality, he made
Wait till
decisions
she
that were,
finds out about Gia and what she's
Ugh,
up to.
I think she
Oh.
knows that Chia already doesn't do that. She has a lesser opinion of her. But, with fathers and especially ones that left her life too early, I just thought that was an interesting thing when you brought up where she's always trusting. And so one of the reasons she keeps failing is because she keeps thinking, what will my dad do? And basing it all and trying to make the decision as like a just one where I think you have to be a little more cruel sometimes, which, Gia is.
I appreciate that, like, even after this huge disaster with Curie Valley, that she hadn't let it make her cynical. I think it
Mhm.
takes like a special person to face a lot
Yeah,
of
close.
adversity, and particularly a lot of betrayal, and then um, not let it make you jaded.
And Takfal is a big reason for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if he's gone, it will be interesting to see like what grounds Thera going forward.
Do you think that um do you think that Lou is in a way like okay parting with Talkfall because Zomi and Thera will reunite and get back together?
It
I don't
sounds
know.
like
There was
fridging to me.
there was a scene where she's on the cliff before she gets attacked by the
The
man bear pig cat thing,
tusk thing.
The
Yeah.
Saber-tooth
saber-tooth,
tiger.
saber-tooth
and
tiger.
where she's thinking about Zomi, and I remember, I think I actually have a note where I was like, this feels really odd
Mm,
in the moment to me. Like it didn't feel. It was maybe like the one
Mm,
kind of out of place feeling thing for me in this section.
that's fair.
okay.
I don't know. It made sense to me because at least in the previous, like when they left or when she left Zomi, it was like, think of me when we're looking at the sky, we're looking at the same sky. And so think of me then was
Mhm.
kind of their parting thing.
Yeah.
And so every time she's looking at kind of the night sky, it's pretty consistent. She's thinking of Zomi.
Yeah, there's already a section like that where maybe it was the moon. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like one of them was looking at maybe it was the moon or maybe it was the sky in general, and yeah, like you said, they said like, oh, I wonder if the other is thinking of me, and then like next chapter the other one does the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Talkfall might be a paraplegic going forward and they'll wheel him around. But I mean, just if he does happen to not make it, I think it'd be less about Zomi and more about just Thera just becoming, someone who can lead by herself and find herself and kind of, because there's still, they could bring it up throughout these chapters or her sections where it's like who's addressing who when they talk to
Mm,
either her or Takfal. Like, oh, they kind of talk to Takfal as give him the title when they announce him, but they kind of look to Thera as a leader.
mm,
And I think eventually that's if Lou does do that, it's because she is the actual leader and they want to see that. And I don't think it's a total accident that he slipped in that she was learning how to ride Gronophagens on her own.
right.
Mm,
Actually, that I think you do make a good point in that potentially, like, if if Talkful and Thera were both around, there could still be divided loyalties where because Talkful is Aegon, then the Aegon would feel more allegiance to Talkful as opposed to Thera. But if, Thera is like embodying Talkful, like he's no longer there, but she is in a way like part of his legacy, um, then she's able to unite all the peoples, especially if yeah, she gets acceptance from important people within the Aegon society.
I do feel like Ken likes to put his characters in positions where they need to change their leadership or change their mindset or like adapt to a situation and come up with an idea.
Mm.
And we might be getting to the point where he's like, all right, Thera and Tokfal have been this duo for too long. Thera's been able to lean on him for too long. She needs to. This is the new problem, the new like situation that she needs to be. Yeah, the next growth step where she needs to learn how to be a leader in this sense. This is quite the step, and it's like definitely the most extreme so far. And like Seth, you mentioned like, oh, I want to see what Endgame Thera is like, and me too for sure, because I mean, Leo likes to throw us for a loop, but I feel like even he won't be able to resist like a final super plan that Thera hatches up with like maybe with maybe Zomi too and some other minds, like that's a final like plan against the Liuku, or maybe it will be a cooking competition, but regardless, she needs to get there somehow, and yeah, I think he probably, and Liu that is, wants more growth from her before she can get to that point. She's starting to give me like Paul Atreides vibes a bit, with like how destitute this crew is, and like how she's not reaching like religious status yet, but I don't know. It's kind of I'm starting to get those vibes a little. It's leading that way a bit because there's like many different cultures that are rising under her.
I think I have a bunch of quotes from this section, but I had one last one, and it's my final point about Thera, but it's just page 137. It's right at the very end of this section almost. But it's, quote, "There is no need for philosophy or religion, no need for appeals to blood or affirmation of the gods. It is enough that we have loved and are loved. There is no meaning in eternity, only now, only here," end quote. So
Nice.
I think
Anti-Paul Atreides.
Yeah, very anti. Well,
That's
I
a
think you get to a
line.
point like where things have gone so wrong, like people are dying, you're starving, you're far from home. Any plan that you've had has gone to the wayside, like where it really feels like there's only the here and now, and you have to move, and it's day to day. And so I think this is like, I really appreciated that Ken kind of like stripped back Thera in this moment. This whole section, I think, is about her kind of realizing that, like, and hopefully is like a character defining type of event, like if she really lost Talkfall here. And yeah, just anyway, I feel like any of my friends who will probably never listen to this, that might be my military friends, would read this section and appreciate it, particularly that quote, like when your back's to the wall and the bullets are flying, like there is only the here and now, there is no time for philosophy. There's no time for religion or, like you just have to get it done. And I'm, just excited to see how Thera gets it done.
Yeah, that quote, so there's a whole like there's a whole thread there because it was Throyo, you know, witnessing what humans are capable of. And she's like having a hard time really differentiating good versus evil. Like you both do terrible things. You both say you're doing this for the good of, your people. Um how do I know which of you is actually good? It seems like you're both like two sides of the same coin, right? And um so Thorio asks that question to Thera, and Thera responds with, "You ask a question that is harder to answer than it may appear at first. No one is a villain in their own stories, and justifications can always be found to condone killing as being in the service of life. Like the goddesses Rapa and Kana, to die and to live are two aspects of the same flow. I understand your confusion. The Layuku drove the Aegon to the ends of Gonde and invaded Dara under the rallying cry of freedom, and we fight them now in both Dara and Gonde." No, I lost my. Where'd it go?
The anticipation.
Fix and post.
The
Okay.
Antissa.
And we find them now in both Dara and Gonde, also through an appeal to freedom. Kuju speaks of a better life for the Lyuku under his empire, and Tokval speaks of a better life for everyone who is in Lyuku with the empire gone. And she goes on and she says, I can describe for you the principle of reduction and suffering. I can point da 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 da. But then that's where she ends with that quote that good isn't always accomplished through beneficent means and evil isn't always committed without some sympathetic cause. And then Torio goes, but how do you know then? How do you know what is right? And Thera says, I can't tell you the answer. For conscience is the only scale that can tell truth apart from lies, separate gold from dross. But conscience belongs to you and you alone, and can be calibrated by no philosophy or religion, only experience. And I really appreciated that part because I've been struggling a lot with the same kind of questions that Torio has asked. And what I ultimately come back to is it really is like at your individual level, right? When you weigh the fish, what feels right to you? And it's, yeah, you could like read all the books, you could listen to, people that you look up to and everything. But ultimately, you got to figure it out for yourself. You have to do the work. You have to like let yourself be uncomfortable and figure out how uncomfortable is too uncomfortable versus, hey, this discomfort is actually helping me to grow. And, you're finding your boundaries. Like, very, I don't know, maybe I'll get flack for this, but one kind of like more concrete example is like me figuring out what my alcohol tolerance is. Like, I had to try it. Like, obviously, you want to try it in safely, um and not be too reckless, but ultimately I kind of had to figure out like, you know what? Actually, I don't like drinking. It doesn't do very like it's not very beneficial to me, right? But I've had some rough times getting to that point of figuring that out. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about Thera that she doesn't give her like she doesn't guide her to the answer that she might have,
Right.
right? And I think that is maybe the hardest thing to do with a question like that, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
there's all these things you can look at, but ultimately it's your experiences, it's this multifaceted thing, and it's in the eye of the beholder a little bit, right? Like, you have to make the call about what you think is right and wrong. And that's just super refreshing. That's like 10 out of 10 leadership to me, Like, this last chapter was fantastic. I mean, like we've said a few times, I was just like, gosh, we're so back. We're so back.
Yeti.
It's just such a fascinating story choice that Thera's telling this to, let's not forget a god,
Right.
Yeah.
and what Lou maybe is trying to say with that.
Mm.
But I do think, I do wonder if these words are going to come back to Thera later on
It
because
must.
like as a parent, like one of the most concrete examples you could give is as a parent, you could tell your kids, don't do drugs. You could tell your kids, like, don't do blah, 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 right? Like, be careful, be a good person, and all of these things. Um, but it's really human nature to disregard what other people tell you and just wanting to experience it for yourself.
So you're saying your conscience is formed via nature, not nurture?
I think it's both, right? Because what Sarah also shows is like as she's gaining these experiences. She's also evaluating, her upbringing, what she's been told, the guidances. But you're choosing and figuring out what actually applies and what doesn't. Because there
Yeah.
is so much nuance in life.
Yeah, and that nuance when you apply it to like, oh, I can't blame someone for thinking this way because like this is like how their conscience is developing or reacting to the situation at this moment. It's like, yeah, it's just there's so much nuance involved. It is crazy to think about. And it's also funny, just like Thorio, you're having this mental breakdown now of all times. Like, let's get back to the dry land first, please.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Thera's kids? Because I think that other than this last chapter, that was maybe my favorite section of part 1.
Yeah.
Right
the wild child.
before we move on real quick, all that we just said, like, I agree with, and yay. There is one piece that I don't think has been answered yet, and that's something that I myself continue to struggle with is, okay, so we say each individual, like, you figure out what's right, what's wrong, and what works best for you. But what happens when individuals just have very different and contradicting perspectives?
Yeah, to the point where there's going to be a conflict, and then you have to like fight over which person gets their way with respect to like how they think, what
Yeah.
they think needs to happen
So
via their
that
conscience.
I don't have a good answer to usually because it's, when you're just so fundamentally like on opposite sides, like what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we've
Um,
talked about maybe a good amount last book, or maybe as well as Storms, but like there's a lot of questions asked about like how you come to peace, right?
Yeah.
And like how do you solve a conflict like this with all the history and everything involved? And we've talked about how there's no easy answer. If there was
Right.
one that you could apply from your life, we would apply it, but like there really isn't. So like, what is Ken Liu's answer going to be? Is there going to be one? And the conversation we're having now is kind of, part of that.
Yeah. So he's setting up this like thesis, and I'm waiting to see how he answers it. Okay,
Yeah,
we can talk
exactly.
about the kids.
But also,
What you got?
I took note of that quote too, by the way, the conscious one.
Nice.
Very good. Who brought
Who wants
up
to
the
start?
kids?
I did.
Seth?
I liked it.
Take it away.
I don't have a ton to say on it. It was fun to read. It seemed like I could see Cooney in his grandson,
Yeah.
like, I love this like idea of like this hidden buried city. And then my one thought or question, I guess, to the crowd is like they end up finding the interred bodies of like the two founding, the Romulus and Remulus uh
Yeah.
of the Peku or Layuku or all these people. And um like what would it be like to find out that it's not the history they thought it was, but that these people actually really did exist, that like your religious stories are, at least partially rooted in truth, and
Mhm.
how that might affect you, like, because the kids in particular, they kind of ride this, they have a lot of Darwin tendencies. They have a lot of uh is it Peku? Anyway, a lot of the
Aegon and
Like,
Layuku.
Lauku tendencies as well, right? Like, but because they have are really like the best example we have of like those two cultures melding into one, and like what that new culture looks like. And so it's just interesting, like, will they believe in the Darn gods like later if they make
yeah.
it to Dara? Like, how is this going to affect them? How would it affect
Mm-hmm.
me? I try to think about that. Like, man, what would my reaction be like? trying to help my people, do all this, find out like, whoa, man, these people like actually really existed, but it didn't go down quite the way we thought it did, like what's actually real.
Right.
I do think that happens quite often, like, in our real life. Perhaps not necessarily to this, like, same extent, like, extreme, but with, um, like, archaeological digs and better technology, um, just being able to understand the past better. There's an example of I was listening to a podcast called Shield Maidens, and it's about like Nordic myths and history and the women that played a huge role in those things. And there was a tomb that was found in I think it was like in Sweden, and for the longest time people thought that the person that was entombed was a man. They thought it was male because all of the things that were in the tombs were like weapons. This person was it was a big tomb, it was they were buried with all these weapons, and they thought, "Oh, it must be a man." Turns out, like decades later, with the DNA technology we have now, we're able to identify the remains as female, and how, like, that realization can change your whole understanding of a people's history and what they valued and the role that women played, in that history. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I think it does happen quite often, but not necessarily like, "Oh, the gods are real," that kind of thing.
I was also like really trying to figure out like what is this weapon? Like it's kind of described as a little, right? That they're like he's kind of looking for, and then they find some stuff that looks like farming tools,
Yeah.
It's a
but
Glock.
It's not a Glock.
One
Is
can
it?
hope.
It's not a Glock.
that'd be
I mean,
wild.
it's seeds, right? It could be seeds that can be grown and harvested on the plains, or
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they did take the seeds. I thought about that
Roblox.
too, like uh which would be kind of fitting because if it's some sort of plant or something like that, like Gia is obviously playing around with some kind of biological, chemical warfare type thing in Dara.
Mhm.
Like, would there be like a mirror of that, or
I mean,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's probably a crop that can grow natively.
Oh, so you mean like the scrublands, yeah, like it doesn't have to be the scrublands.
Mm.
Like they could actually turn the whatever this country is called, the Gonde,
Yeah, Uku
Ukuyu
Conde.
Gonde
Uganda.
into
Yeah.
a fertile and fruitful
You have
land.
yeah.
Oh.
That's what I'm
And not,
wondering, because
and not be nomadic? Yeah, that's interesting.
farming is kind of one of the greatest innovations in
Yeah,
technology, and kind of one of the things that progresses technology.
right.
Dang, Spook, that's brilliant. Because now I'm thinking about that
That
whole
and war.
section. Because if they really did value farming and they went against the ways, then like the Lyuku had been arguing about it wrong like the whole
Yeah.
time, maybe. Like
Right.
Well, and there's that section when before Tanta goes into the city of ghosts, where he's like, "Don't hurt me. I'm trying to find a way to defeat the Liuku who are doing all these things that is said that this society did before they fell." In a
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of like Tower of Babel situation.
Right.
Yeah. So what if people of Dara are gonna switch? That they're gonna give their land to the Lyuku and then they're gonna go live on Ukugande. They're like, all right, fine. We'll
No.
live there.
No, the twist in this is all these lands were actually all connected like Pangea, and there was this big, like, quake that then, like, broke them apart. No, I'm just kidding.
Just
They're
watching
gonna put them back
Yeti as
together.
we're talking about this.
I know our listeners will can't. This is like audio only, but we're on video while we record this, and I am just looking at Yeti like it's
trying to
Croker's
see.
World Series. Yeah, I'm like a subtle tell, a raise of the eyebrow. Like, what are we
I
in for?
Giving anything away.
I wonder if the seeds are corn.
Guys,
I think that'd be.
it's just a
that'd be fun.
crossbow. That's the weapon. Come on.
It's just a crossbow.
It's a plant that produces crossbows.
Yeah.
Hey, crossbows revolutionized warfare in
Mm,
the Middle Ages. So, don't sleep on them.
don't sleep on them. Yeah. They already have crossbows.
I thought they might.
They have airships.
All right,
Yeah.
back to the Glock theory then.
They have like lasers.
I'm still holding on to mechas being a thing. I'm still holding on to that.
I mean, we don't
No
know
way.
what Tanvanaki is building in those tunnels, right?
What's Zomi doing right now?
Secretive. Do we even get any Zomi in this part?
No.
No,
We only
not
get
this
one.
Thera
No.
mentioning Zomi.
I think we only have like, what is it, 2 chapters or 1 chapter on Indara in this section?
Just
It's
the
not
Gia. Well, the Gia.
Just the
No.
Tifan
Huto.
Huto
Yeah.
Tifan
chapter.
Huto. Yeah.
Tanvanaki.
Which I'm still
Also
holding to
too,
my
yeah.
theory that Gia's poisoning the entire island, and now she's going to use Tifon Huto
Well,
to give the
remember,
poison.
right? The bandit queens like made him swallow a
The
mushroom.
mushroom.
Yeah,
Which
I think that
I don't
was a
think
lie.
It, yeah,
I
it
think
doesn't do anything.
I think
Doesn't do
they're.
anything.
I think that is just a complete lie, and he's such an idiot that he's
He
going to
believes
believe it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the bandit queens are obviously working underneath Gia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's her,
If
They're
they're
like
even
the-
bandit
the-
queens, I think they're just her spies.
No, they're the 2 helpers from the last book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names.
she has a whole
The
crew.
something
Yeah.
dancers. Is that what they are called? I can't remember.
Well, no, their new names are Lightbringer and Blooddrinker. But I don't remember their old names with
Mhm.
Gia.
Yeah. I think she's poisoning that island.
It's
Well,
cold-blooded.
Probably.
I mean,
It is Gia.
Gia had a heart,
there was a moment where space was kind of in the picture when they were going up
There we
the
go.
mountain and like realizing, oh, there's less air up here. But that's as close as they got to space. Okay. We did mention in our chats um Gia and Tanvanaki. Like, how similar are they? And how do we feel about each one? Do we feel like we root for one over the other? And like, why would that be the case?
I'm rooting for neither. I'm rooting
Rooting
for
for
Thera.
neither.
Terrible.
Yeah, but between the two, like, are they just like two people cut from the same cloth?
Nobody has sympathy for Tanvanaki or any.
No, she
Interesting.
put herself there. I think she put herself in that situation.
Interesting. Okay.
Tanvanaki had she was in a tough spot and she could have taken a different path. Like if what she's saying is true and she wants like the Lyuku and the Darians to coexist or for there to be some kind of positive relationship, she could have taken her husband's advice and risked it, but she didn't. Like she was afraid to risk it, right? She took, I don't want to say it's way out because like I'm not in the position she was in. I don't know what decision I would have made, but like ultimately she made a decision that kept her safe that was less beneficial, right? And a story that's all about teeth on the board, you know what I mean? Like at a certain
Well,
point.
Do you guys believe that she has genuine feelings for Timu, whatever his name is,
I think so.
her husband? Like
Yeah, I
she's
think
not
so.
just using him as a political pawn or a prisoner. Like she actually, like Thera, has feelings for her spouse over time.
I think she does. Maybe not to quite the same extent as like Thera and Talkful, but
So then you'd believe that she actually does want to have Dara and her people coexist. Like that is, she is not lying to him, that she is actually trying to work towards that, and her decisions are Because if you believe that,
I don't think she's lying to him. I think she's lying to herself, right? Like, I think she wants to believe in a world where that's possible, but she's unwilling to take the steps to get there.
I think it shows that she's starting to take those steps. Like, you remember in the last book, she she really thought about, assassinating what's her face,
Kuchen Rovo.
Kuchen
Rovo.
Yeah.
She's like, that'd be the easiest thing. She could see the power and the following she was starting to get, and she could easily take her out, but she couldn't live with the thought of killing another Liuku. Whereas we find her now, she's crossed that step where she's like, this is what has to be done for the betterment of both of our people coexisting. What like with her spy saying that he's essentially, she ordered him to kill Liuku people that found out about whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
And to me, that's progress in her thinking. And honestly,
That's
as I was,
progress,
as I was,
baby.
well, it's if she actually wants that, it's a thing with Thera. She couldn't make those hard decisions because she's trying to think
She doesn't
everything
want to sacrifice anything.
right. But that's not what Cooney would do. That's not what Gio would do. And this is, the what's her face is finally seeing that this is how you make progress, and it's not easy and it doesn't feel good, but this is what kind of has to be done for the betterment. And I thought that was a big character change in her, in just in Tanvanaki, in just that little sliver of a chapter we got from her.
I just feel like she knew that already in the Veiled Throne, and she's only acting now because she saw how bad it is bowing to Kuchen Ravo. Like, that she vastly underestimated the fallout and the blowback of that. I mean, I hope you're right, because I actually think of all the redemption arcs that could happen in this story, like hers would be one of the more satisfying.
Well, it's like everyone's the hero of their own story, right? That's what keeps being told to us over and over. Even her father, or even though he seems a little more evil than she is, but she's just coming over with him and giving her people a better life into this new world. That's what she wants, and she's not Kuchen Rovo. She's not trying to make everyone extinct. I don't think she ever was, and she even Luan Zia found potential in her when he first met her on their land. And so I've always thought that she had good in her, and that she's just, she is her father's daughter to an extent, but this is kind of where I was bringing up, where it feels like Dara is slipping into her, whether she knows it or not, with these kind of sneaky moves. She's like a sneaky Dara person that they always accuse Cooney of being, with these secret tunnels and not letting anyone know. And whether that's just the culture being in that land, whether that's her husband subconsciously affecting her through love, and she actually is listening to his stupid teachings or whatever he says to her, or her kids, just seeing Dara and her kids or whatever. Like, there is this change going through her. And you kind of talked about the bigger picture, Panda, about everything. How do you stop conflict? I don't think you can, but I think assimilation and joining cultures is like the big thing, where it's like that's the best way to do it if you can.
I think Ken's done a really good job of saying, like, whether two cultures meeting peacefully or not peacefully, or however they meet, like, no matter how it happens, they're going to influence each other, right? And so I think even if she has no love for Timu, just her being married and being in close proximity to him and listening to his thoughts for years, right? Like, will have had some effect on her. I just think that it's an inevitability, right? Like, anytime cultures cross paths, they exchange. And if you are immersed in a culture, like, you will be influenced by it.
I do
in particular.
think, to me, Tanvanaki is, I think she's the one that has been trying to play by the rules, and I put the rules in like quotes, the most. Meaning that she is trying to hold on to her power by keeping the respect of the other Lyuku like leaders, the Thanes, and she sees like her legitimacy to the throne dependent upon the Thanes. She's not as creative, at least not until, we don't know what the secret, other than Yeti, of course, you know what it is, but we don't know what the secret is that she's hiding. But this could be a way for her to be more creative and start thinking outside of the box rather than trying to keep using the same tactic of keeping, needing to appease Kutenrovo because she is so respected by the Thanes.
Would you guys, instead of her being a parallel to Gia, Tambanaki being a parallel to Thera?
Yeah, that could be a better comparison.
And she didn't get the advice Thera did that Seth was bringing up, that living in the now. Tanvanaki up to this point has always been worried about Kutenrovo, gaining too much power, keeping her under control. She's worried about her husband not being helpful at all and being cold and being a liability. She's worried about her brother coming over
Right.
and having to compete with that. All these things that, might happen, could happen, might be a problem. That's why I was saying Kutenrovo sounds like an idiot. In reality, why should she be worried about him coming over? She's clearly smarter
Oh,
than
could
him.
you mean?
Oh, Cujo. Sorry, yeah, Cujo, her brother. But again, if she would just think in the now, it might go better for her. And it seems like she might be doing that. I don't know, but yeah, it is an interesting comparison to her and Thera.
I'll just say I don't envy her position, right? Like the way she inherited her power, the whole thing, it's fraught and difficult, and like 10 out of 10 would not want to be in her shoes.
Yeah.
But I
I
guess
had
we'll
a good
find
answer to
out.
this, but I kind of forgot what I was thinking. But to the minor side point about the melding of cultures, the kids of Thera and Talkfall very much embody that conflict, and that hasn't like entirely developed one way or the other yet, but I think that could be kind of like how their journey throughout this book could represent the journey that the overall conflict plays. But I hesitate to agree that the solution or whatever for this conflict is some sort of melding of cultures, just because culture is so important in this series, and I think Liu does emphasize that like individual culture is important, like things should not get lost, and having that identity is good. It comes with downsides, and maybe the downsides are what he wants to address, but I don't think he wants cultures to dissolve in favor of like a mixture.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I just think that unless you live in isolation like Dara had, pre Lyuku, like it is inevitable. Like
Yeah.
it just I can't think of an instance as a guy who nerds out on history, like where two cultures have met and there hasn't been some hybridized culture that has emerged.
Right. Oh, I think my answer to the question about Gia versus Tamanaki was kind of what you brought up, Yeti, with how Tamanaki crossed the line of like killing her allies, which Gia, plenty of experience in that up until this point. Like Gia has killed those very close to her, those who are very close to her, like familial ties, right? So Gia's in that respect is worse at this point still.
Easily, she's an old hand. What are you talking about?
I think that gives Gia the upper hand though, because she's not restrained by like her own morality, right?
Yeah.
Like she is willing to do literally anything to get to her
Yep.
end goal. And it's, if you're playing by a different set of rules where you're limiting yourself, like it is, you are at a horrible tactical advantage in that situation.
Mm.
But she's also the only one, maybe Kutenrovo, but I don't think she does either. But G is the only one who knows exactly what she wants, and she knows exactly what she wants to do to get it. She has no
Yeah,
qualms about it. She might feel guilty or whatever, but she knows exactly what her end goal is. Kutenrovo, I think, is so bloodlust. I think she knows immediately what she wants to kill, but she doesn't know long term what, or care.
She has no plan. Kunarova doesn't have a plan beyond like the current like bloodlust and anger and vengeance that she wants.
Yeah.
And this is what's really interesting because a lot of like these rebellion stories, it's very focused on the rebellion itself. And we kind of talked about this like back in Grace of Kings, moving into Wall of Storms, right? Like there there's a lot of focus on the origin of the rebellion and going through the rebellion and then the victory of the rebellion. But then what happens after the rebellion? Like, it's not like people's lives just end. Yes, this is all fictional, but, like, if this were a real story, it's not like people's lives just end, after the rebellion succeeds, right? How do you then coexist and build a future from the, you know, aftermath, of the rebellion? And, we see it with what Cooney was able to do, and then obviously there was an external factor, right, that disrupted it. But then like Kudenrova doesn't they don't know because I think part of it is their society is so tumultuous. Like it's just constant conflict and fighting for power. So they don't really get like stretch of peace to be able to
Yeah.
like build. It's always like just hold on to power as long as you can.
Yeah. It's like stagnant, at least their society is because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say I can't wait for you guys to like get more Gia. Because I feel like at the end of the last book we didn't get much of her, didn't get much of this part, and it's
Yeah.
like it's exciting times.
I'll start part 2 right now. Let's go.
Don't you have with the will of the many to read too?
I do. It's actually plug for the Will of the Many. 130 pages in. Very good. If you like Islington,
It's a
it
great
might
book.
be his best work so far. Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we wrap?
I do have one more note on
Mhm.
I got some quick stuff.
two notes, but one of them on Thera and Tonvanaki, where I'm a little worried about how Lou's writing them right now,
Yeah.
because it mirrors Daenerys and Drogo's relationship in Game of Thrones a little too much
Okay.
at
That's
times.
fair.
Even though that was only in the first book of the series, but it's still a little like, And so then if he kills off Talkval, it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Do you well, I guess that would be spoilers for Game of Thrones, the show. Anyway, we could talk about it later.
Just something I have noted in comparison to other media.
I don't think Lou would go there.
Stay
No.
tuned.
I don't think he would do that. Just knowing
I think
like
he survives.
he Oh, you think Talkval's gonna survive?
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning that he's gonna die. I think he's gonna bye-bye.
I think him dying makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
See, I disagree with that, which is why I said no.
Okay. Yeti, do we get to find out in part 2 who's right?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
At least they're not all gonna die because they have like the shark blubber, or not blubber, shark meat now.
The
Shark meat.
fermented shark meat that's toxic unless you like leave it in the ground and
Yeah,
I mean, that process
is that a
done.
realistic?
It's what Nordics do with
it's
shark
Is that a
meat.
realistic option for them though to like survive right now? Is that gonna can they do that quick enough turnaround?
no, it's been
It's already, yeah.
Oh right, yeah,
buried.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and they excavated it with a bomb.
Lutefisk. That's what it's called.
Mm.
There's good science in this book as always. Something I just
Yes,
wanted to
there's
bring
already.
up real quick before we go is like, so I think we talked about it a little bit, the Grenaffigan.
Grenafin.
Stop adding the G in there. The extra G.
Garanoffin.
Garanopin.
They, so they figure out how to make them into like human walkie-talkies, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And communicate. And I loved how one, clock. If you don't think that's going to be brought up later in the book, I don't know what to tell you. But I love that. Thera found that out. Put that together from earlier in her life being a stable hand with cattle in another life, and I love how that leads to this.
Mm.
And just another way
Yeehaw.
how like Ken Liu just like he's plotting it all out all throughout, making sure everything isn't just like out of nowhere. It's like, oh, of course she knows how to do that like that. It's like, no, he laid the
Yeah.
groundwork. He let you know, and he does that all throughout the books, I think.
I almost expected when they were trying to figure out the sound and how it's like produced, I almost expected the voice paintings to come back as a way to detect the vibrations of the sound.
Oh, I see.
So I was a little disappointed when it wasn't like voice paintings or like sand
Mm,
to detect the sound waves, but
yeah, I hear you. But I do think we're gonna get trains in this book. I mean, we got a roller
Anything's possible.
coaster in the last one, so
Oh
I
yeah.
hope trains.
still holding the Mecca.
Rocket to the moon.
I'm excited to get back to Dara. Just a lot of Dara POVs because it's good
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Yeah, I want to know what Zomi's up to. We need to be reunited with Kinri.
She's at the lab, right? Like the mountain lab with everyone
Picking
there.
it up.
with the entire crew.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any predictions or no?
Oh.
Sorry. Does anyone have any quick predictions or no?
Like in part 2?
Yeah. I just want you guys to be embarrassed later.
Nothing for part 2. Book wise,
I already said I
Gia's
think
poisoning
Togwell's gonna
everyone.
die. Yeah.
I want him to die. I don't know if he will. I haven't decided.
I want Tifon Kuto to like get his upcoming,
Too lucky.
No, he's gonna be
I-
a big player. He's gonna G is setting up for hit him up for success, and he's gonna
For
That would
her
be a
show off.
great
success.
subversion. Great subversion by Liu to be like, hey, I set it up, and then now, okay, for reals.
Yeah,
I just don't
But no.
like him though.
I just think he's gonna contribute. With a knife at his neck, with Gia's knife at his neck, he's gonna contribute. But maybe we'll have a slight change of, or maybe not even change of heart, but he'll contribute, and then he will get rewarded, not go to jail, and the series a rich, happy man
No.
with a soft spot
I think
for
he's
the
gonna
Dandelion gang.
die
Maybe.
horrifically.
Oh my god.
I think he's
Maybe.
gonna try and betray Gia.
I'm
She's already
banning myself
plotting it.
from predictions
Yeah.
because of my Luan take, like 2.5 books ago. So
Evil Luanzia.
that's right.
Is that it? Wow.
Dude, the most ice
He
cold
died.
take in the history of ice cold takes. Just
Didn't you also say
Alright.
Thorio's like the bringer of death or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah.
He's Matazindu. No, not Thorio.
no, I just said that like that. I think Thorio could become like an evil type figure because, and it still could. I mean, like
Yeah, no.
we don't know like where Thorio's going to land on the this
Yeah.
very thing we were talking about, like who's good, who's bad type thing.
Yeah.
Choose
Sure.
love.
Choose love. Alrighty. Here we are at the end of the last few episodes about the Dandelion Dynasty. Thank you, everybody. And on to part 2. Honestly, I don't have much else to say, so until next time. Bye.
Good job, everyone.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.
See ya.